Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Sweden, and we're going to stick to my home county. I don't know if I'm allowed to call it that because I am an immigrant to Sweden, but we're going to stick to my sort of home county here in Skåne in the very south of the country, and we're returning to a brewery who I've reviewed maybe 10 or so beers from now, and this one is their latest release as of March 2020. So for this review then we are going to go to Eslöv, just to the kind of northeast of Lund, and we're having a look at yet another beer from Remmarlöv Gårdsbryggeri. This one is the Prima Vera, which, if I remember rightly, translates into English as spring. I can't remember if that's Italian or if it is Latin, actually, but basically Prima Vera is the spring, the first season, I guess it translates as. But this particular beer comes in at 5.2% ABV, and it's supposed to be a sort of Belgian blonde, actually, so really curious to see how this one turns out. The last beer that I had from Remmarlöv Gårdsbryggeri was, of course, the Niblina, which I think is the best beer that I've had from them so far. A lovely session IPA, and some people, when I posted the picture of that, I think it might have been Beer Pics and Beer Hedonist, actually, and maybe even Booker Bears. These guys who are all in the Swedish beer Instagram, they were commenting that they also thought that beer was really pretty good. So I've got high hopes for this one. Hopefully it turns out to be in the same kind of vein, if you like, even though it's a completely different style. But it's always nice to review the new beers from Remmarlöv, and I've noticed that these guys have been being a little bit more, how do you say, prolific as of recent times. So hopefully this is another good beer from them, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this one as well. This was released on the 27th of March 2020 through the Små Partiers, the Tillfälligt assortment, not the local release actually. So this one is a Tillfälligt Små Partier rather than a local release. So yeah, hopefully it turns out to be quite good in that regard as well. But looking forward to it, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this one as well. So as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Remmarlöv Gårdsbryggeri before. There will be more in the future, I'm sure. There's all the usual social media down there too. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you, and that's constantly being added to. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Remmarlöv Gårdsbryggeri then, so on to my brewery notes. So Remmarlöv Gårdsbryggeri are based on a farm in Eslöv, just to the north of Lund. But they've been brewing here since the winter-autumn of 2014, and in January 2015 they started selling their beers through Systembolaget, the nationalised beer stores here in Sweden. But the owner and founder of the company is Håkan Nilsson, and together with his wife Michelle, he started his plan for a brewery a couple of years previously, and the brewery is located on his family farm. And apparently Håkan is the 5th generation of his family to make their living here in the countryside of Skåne. But the old barn was renovated and a brew house of 1,500 litres was installed, and they hired Hampus Olofsson as the brewer in August 2014, and he'd previously worked at Malmö Brewing Company for a couple of years, I think it was. But over the last few years they've been gradually expanding their capacity. They now have a 3,000 litre brew kit, and they invested in a new fermentation tank set in spring of 2018, which apparently takes their total capacity up to a possible 800,000 litres. I'm not sure if they're using all of that themselves or if some other breweries are gypsy brewing there too. But in 2019 they also opened up their summer pub, which for the moment was opening up every Wednesday, and they're planning further expansions to the brewery over 2020, so we'll need to see what that brings. It would be cool if these guys opened up a little taproom restaurant-y type thing in Malmö, or even here in Lund actually, or Eslöv. I guess that would probably be the next kind of stage for these guys. It would be nice to see them have their own restaurant taproom kind of thing. But as of March 2020, when I'm filming this review for you, they've produced around 45 different types of beer, and there's a good variety of different styles in there actually. This is one of the breweries that you should check out if you are here in Skåne in the south of Sweden. Probably the most notable thing, I think, for a while that these guys had done was the local hop variety, because there are a couple, I think there's more than one now, but there are some farms here in Skåne growing their own hops to that go into some of the local breweries' beers and things like that, which is pretty cool. But yeah, that's all you really need to know about Remmarlöv Gårdsbryggeri for the moment. Definitely worth checking out if you find yourself here in Skåne. I do hope that the Neblina does become a regular beer. That's definitely one of the best ones I've had from these guys. The Christmas beer, the Red Slope, or was it the Red Carol, the stronger one, I think it's the Red Slope, is definitely worth trying as well, and they've had some other very good beers over the years too, so check out some of those. Keep an eye on Systembolaget and see what you can get from these guys. I'm pretty sure they sell their beers all across Sweden these days actually. So yeah, if you want to learn more, check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and of course you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to see what they're up to, what their other beers are all about. So yeah, let's get on and actually taste this one then. I'm very curious to see what this has in store for us. There wasn't very much said about this one on the Untappd pages and things. It's just a Belgian blonde at 5.2% ABV. So yeah, it says it's got a bit of coriander in it, coriander fruit. So yeah, I think this one, it might be a little bit like a wit beer or something like that, but it did say on Untappd that it was a Belgian blonde, and in fairness to them, while you need to take some of the stuff that's on there with a bit of a pinch of salt, they usually are pretty accurate when it comes to the style. But like I said, this particular beer comes in at 5.2% and it was released as part of the Tillfällig assortment in Systembolaget on the, what is it, on the 27th of March 2020. Okay, so let's get this guy out and we will get on with the tasting. I'm very curious to see what this has in store for us. And I'll tell you right away, when you open this one up, you can definitely smell some of that nice wheaty quality coming out of this. So, and some of the coriander is definitely there as well. So yeah, let's see how we get on with this then. I think this is a wit beer. Just going from that aroma, I think this is a wit beer, not a Belgian blonde. So maybe I'm telling you lies. Maybe you can't trust. Maybe you can't trust Untappd when it comes to beer styles. But look at that, lovely, bright, kind of hazy, golden colour. This one, there's a solid half finger of a frothy, well, bubbly white head. That's fading away to just be a very, very thin foamy layer. But if we hold this one up to the light, it's definitely got a nice kind of hazy edge to it. So yeah, really pretty nice looking beer actually. I think this one is a wit beer. I think this, just going from the aromas that are coming out of it, I'm pretty sure this one is going to be a Belgian style wit beer. You know, this is nice actually. I've not had one of these in a little while. It's not a style that I drink too often, but then again, we just don't see all that many of them. I do need to make a whole garden review at some point. It's been years since I've drunk that beer because of everything else that I've been able to drink, of course. So whole garden is the kind of classic one. It's one that I really need to look at. I'll need to see about making a whole garden review for you over the next little while. But a really nice looking beer, this one. Lovely and hazy, bright yellow colour. The head is just fading away to be a very thin foamy layer. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass and a few little ones going up towards the bottom of that head there. But you know, overall it looks pretty nice, I have to say. So yeah, let's take a look at the aroma then and see how we get on. That's a wit beer. Pretty sure that's a wit beer. Yeah, that's a Belgian wit. You know, the coriander and stuff that's coming out of this and the level of wheatiness, it's not really got a biscuity character. I mean, if it had a little bit of biscuitiness and it was maybe a little bit clearer and there was no spice in it, maybe it could get away with being a Belgian blonde. So Untappd need to look at that. This one I'm pretty sure is a wit. I'm pretty sure this is a wit beer. So yeah, straight away with this one you can smell that big white bready wheaty sort of thing. Some of the Belgian yeasty notes are coming out of this. It's got that kind of, you can definitely pick out the coriander spice, but that big doughy kind of yeasty bready sort of thing is really nice for me. I really like how this goes together. Yeah, this beer is really pretty damn solid, I have to say. It's, you know, straight away it's all about the big kind of yeasty and malty components of it, and that is exactly what you would expect of a Belgian wit. I've not had one of these in ages, like I said. Hoegaarden has to be, I have to review that, because I can't even remember what that beer tastes like, to be honest. But yeah, this one has that lovely kind of smooth white bready wheaty thing. You've got the thicker kind of doughy Belgian yeasty notes on top of that. There's a lovely little bit of kind of coriander spice, a little bit of a clovey spice into this one, maybe a wee bit of a kind of bubble gummy aroma, maybe a little bit of banana, you know, these kind of typical things that you expect of a wheat beer, be it German or be it Belgian. The Belgian ones are a bit more kind of yeasty smelling than the German ones, right enough. But yeah, you've got a lovely kind of candied note to this as well. But in terms of hoppiness, there's a wee touch of earthiness to it, a little bit of grassiness, a little bit of floral quality. I would say it leans more towards the kind of lighter grassy side of things. And as I said, on the fruity side of the beer, you have definitely you've definitely got a little bit of that banana in there. You've got a bit of the kind of bubblegummy note, and you've also got a wee bit of that kind of peary type ester as well. I mean, if you know the Belgian wit style, you're not going to be overly surprised about this one. There's maybe a wee touch of like apricot or papaya or something in there as well, but overall the aroma coming out of this beer is very, very nice. So take a bit of time and just enjoy the aroma that's coming out of this beer before you get stuck into it. So yeah, let's have a taste of this one then and see how we get on. This one is the Prima Vera, a 5.2%, supposed to be Belgian blonde according to Untappd, but I think it's a wit beer from Remmarlöv Gårdsbryggeri in Eslöv here in Skåne in the south of Sweden. Let's get stuck into this one. Slange, skål. But yeah, that's really nice. I like how this goes together actually. You know, the thing is on Untappd, this didn't have all that good ratings. I think it was like 3.2 or something. I know, I'm pretty sure, just going by the flavour, this is a Belgian wit. It's not a blonde. I don't know who's said that this is a blonde beer. This is a wit beer. So that Untappd needs updated, definitely. But yeah, this is a nice Belgian type wit beer, and I like this. You know, I've not had one of these in ages. There's very few people producing them these days other than actual Belgian breweries, to be honest with you. So yeah, it's nice to have something a little bit different, and I think in terms of the style, I think this is pretty nice. You know, it's not, as I say, it's not a style I would sort of seek out to drink. I might be tempted, you know, if I went into Tap Room or something like that and they had a Belgian wit on, I'd probably try it just for something a bit different, because I wouldn't have tried it from them before. So, you know, I like reviews like this where you have something that's just a little bit different than the norm is, because I mean, they could have done, you know, a spring New England IPA or something like that, but you know, where's the fun in that? There's so many breweries these days doing the hazy IPAs. You want to do something a little bit different. But yeah, I like this. It's really sessionable, really drinkable, and it's a good example of the style. Let's just say that. So let's try and break the flavour down and describe it a little bit more. In the middle of the palate, you can feel that nice white bready wheaty quality. That blankets the middle of the tongue. If you go further into the centre of the palate, you can feel it does sweeten up a little bit. The doughy notes kind of thicken up a little bit. If you go to the very kind of centre of the palate too, it's got there is a wee bit of a caramelly note to this one. I would say that. I do wonder if there's a little bit of you know, candy sugar or something being put in this. That's quite a common trick with the tripels. And sometimes I think they do it a little bit with the blondes, but it's more with the tripels and the quadrupels that in the Belgian beers, that they add a little bit of the brewing sugar into them, or demerara sugar or whatever. I think there is a wee bit of sugar added into the malt base here, just going by how sweet it is. But yeah, in the centre of the palate, there's definitely a wee bit of a sort of caramelly sweetness to this. As you move further out from that, it becomes a little bit more biscuity. The big doughy, bready, yeasty notes are kind of sitting underneath that, and you can feel the sort of coriander just infused into those. But the wheaty, bready base of this beer really kind of spreads all across the middle of the palate. If you go to the front corners of the tongue and then move in a little bit, you'll start to get the you will start to get some of the biscuity sorry, not some of the biscuity, some of the more woody qualities out of this beer too. So yeah, in terms of the hoppy side of the beer, then back corners of the palate, there is a little wee bit of a kind of earthiness there, but it's quite minimal actually and quite smooth. And as you come further forward along the sides of the tongue, it does gradually develop to be a little bit more kind of floral, and as you reach the front corners of the palate, there is a little bit of that kind of spicy floral aromaticity out of the beer. Then round the front curve of the tongue, it's just a little bit lighter and more grassy in my mind, which is nice. So yeah, I like how the flavours in this one go together. This has got a really nice, this really has a very nice edge to it, this beer, in terms of the hoppiness. I do wonder if it's Belgian hops or if it's German hops that are in this. It really has a bit of that kind of noble quality, but the Belgian hops, as I've told you before, they're kind of a cross between the German ones and the English ones. They've got a little bit of the darker kind of earthy and herbal notes that you'd expect of the English hops, but they've got some of the brightness you'd get from the German noble hops. But yeah, in terms of the fruitiness out of this beer, it's how do you say? It's got a little bit of I would say it's got a little bit of a kind of apricot-y note to it, but the doughy banana notes, they come out. If you go to the front part of the palate, just behind the fruity side of the beer, it gives you get this thicker kind of doughy note, and that's where the banana and the kind of clovey sort of the clovey coriander type spices are coming out of this one. And then as you move further into the actual fruity part of the beer, you start to get that kind of typical peary, appley, slightly lemony type note out of this one. So what I would say about this beer is it's not really doing anything surprising, to be honest with you, but I think as an example of a Belgian wit, I think they've got it pretty spot on. And I mean, when it's a style that not a lot of people drink and not a lot of people brew, I think you can't really knock it for that. So I think it's unfair. I mean, for 3.2, I think that's a little bit of an unfair rating. That's one of the reasons I don't like rating the beers on the channel for you. I think you've always got to rate them within their own style bracket, because, you know, if people are talking about popularity of beers, whereas the Belgian wit is kind of a no man's land when it comes to favourite beer styles these days, and there's really not many people doing these, but I think this is quite a nice example of the style, and it should be thought of as such, to be honest with you. So yeah, this gets a thumbs up from me. It's nice to have a Belgian wit for the first time in ages. I can't even remember when the last time I would have had one of these would be. But I think they've done a nice job of this, and Remmarlöv, they are. Hampus is a very capable brewer, so it's good to see him trying different things as well. So yeah, mouthfeel, mid-bodied, carbonation's really smooth, the mouthfeel itself is pretty smooth, and it's got a nice kind of oily character to it mainly. It's quite a nice kind of smooth, oily beer, this one. In terms of the hoppy, bitter side of the beer, this one's got a nice... I would say this one's probably about 20-ish IBUs. There's very little in the way of bitterness to this beer. I think you'd maybe even be lucky if it was 15 IBUs, to be honest. Malt base and yeasty qualities are very, very smooth. There's a little bit of sweetness to it, and you've also got a little bit of a kind of juicy, fruity quality to the beer as well. But overall, it's really quite nice. It's a nice example of a Belgian wit, and it was nice to have something a little bit different to review for you here on the channel. So compared to the other Remmarlöv beers, it's not the most kind of bold and punchy thing that you're going to get. But I think it's a very nice example of a more traditional style, if you like. And I have noticed that Remmarlöv have been brewing a few more Belgian styles of beer recently, so maybe I need to have a go at some of the other Belgian type beers that they're putting out there. But this was a nice one, and I'm glad that I was able to review it for you here on the channel. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed my take on this one too. I actually did buy this one thinking that it was a Belgian blonde, because that's what it said on Systembolaget as well, from what I remember rightly. But I'm glad it turned out to be something a little bit different. So yeah, have a go at this for yourself and just see what you think. But this one was the Prima Vera, a 5.2% Belgian style wit beer from Remmarlöv Gårdsbryggeri in Eslöv here in Skåne, in the very south of the country. Thank you again for watching my reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Remmarlöv Gårdsbryggeri as well. I'm sure we'll return to these guys at some point soon. And yeah, check out the Niblina if you get the chance. That's been my favourite beer from them so far. Thank you again, and I'll catch you guys later. Slàinte, skål. Make sure you check out the Prima Vera while it's still available. Skål.